Professor Lumumba edi asembia betudwa na asem na odi ba betudwa no na abrofo etiase na eti asema na oka e ma abrofo no nyina omanim sisae omu nyina ye basa ba ko di kra na opeso osu because asema prof kan no na awisinya aguwo no Professor Chirese, the late Dr. Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana was a prophet. In Sambia or Kayano, in Sambi Bamu life and colored. Kwame Nkrumah or say African Timan Kayan one move and ye back one African Timin Kosuta, cooking say we as a vessel. Obia na visa or peso tino, no dear, or Yenny Kuru or peso tino on the any mind Kosra, no African ya or boy. Intimin Kosuta. The Bia Abrofun be dear society. This is Africa be one. And then Dr. Kwame Nkrumah on Jennibo. O we no twaso. Eke say Africa. Yenji ye hunni enti ye believe ye ho. Yen hwe say ye ba beto abampo a. Ye twen say foreign observers. En na be ba hwe so amaye. Ana omumum na betima be declare. Ti say foreign medias. Ye pese ye tie free so omo aka say we na di nkuni. Which means say ye yenji ye humponi. Na yankasa ye election ya to know ye country no Africa ye election say tribalism kwa asuma si betima ye adwuma pa ye ntom man oh we na ebi busu ani so ya adi onya adi meto man eno ena di minum bere aye bere no. The tragedy of Africa is not the song that is being sung but who the singer is. Ya mani huni bere aye bere no yenhwe no nemu dia me hunu se ono oye minua we oye me wofase we ofri me tribe we mu ono na meto abama no eno ena ma minu ye tia wo Africa a abrofa fa advantage a ye di eku ye dendende e se ye japadi because ye beba na nye nti obekwa ko support o mu ye be wia ye. Bob Marley is a prophet. Nyankopon ekasa kire nipa na nipa beka kire nipa. Bob Marley eto ndwumbi. O say your worst enemy could be your best friend and your best friend could be your worst enemy. So what? Ye ni abrofai one. Ye fi so mo peyase mama ba ye nim say ya tamfo kese pa na ye ni omo nam sa no. Omunya ya ye mfa ye ni agro. But ye kasa defe yen krokro yen itimi ma ye dikasi ka bosia IMF na ye nia ye nti se wo mo boy na ye ku sunsun ye mpa ya ase ye tie nsema prof e de tudwa ensem bebre ene potato kra ye dua no ye krum ye chi na se ye dia na ato din French fries adia wo Africa ni wachi wa dia di no wasan di bronyini di na ba beto so o promote bronyini no yenji ye hu ni ye mpe bibia ade nti ne ye bre yenti prof asema odi beto bia hu bedwiru ankasa.
On the 24th day of May, perhaps the most powerful speech ever made by an African leader was delivered by Ghana's Kwame Nkrumah. And he reminded the leaders who were present on that day about a number of things. One, he told them that not to delude themselves, that by regaining their independence, the erstwhile colonizer would recoil and remain inactive. That in fact, the erstwhile colonial master was going to be more pernicious, but in a very subtle way. Kwame Nkrumah was right. He reminded his audience that going forward it was necessary and indeed urgent that Africans should begin to think as one whole, because if they remained in disunity, they would remain weak and vulnerable and therefore susceptible to manipulation. Kwame Nkrumah was right. He reminded his audience that because many of, if not all of the African countries were artificial. They were created in Berlin, and the boundaries were artificial. But he urged his audience that they should respect the inviolability of the boundaries, because if they tried to redraw the boundaries, conflict would never end. And in many African countries, these outfits are formed on the basis of ethnic affiliation. Your typical African political party is simply an assembly of ethnicities. And in many African nations, you will discover that what we call elections is simply an ethnic census to determine which ethnic group is larger than the other. It is Julius Nyerere of Tanzania who said it. He said that the tragedy of Africa is not what the song is, not the song that is being sung, but who the singer is. And what he meant was very clear, that you may have an agenda that is good for your nation, but if you do not come from a particular ethnic group, those who will follow you will not be from your ethnic group. You may sing the best song, but when you look back, you'll discover that it's only people from your ethnic group who are following you. And when you have such a situation, the design is inherently conflictual. And that is why, therefore, when you look at Africa today, you discover that after every election cycle in many African countries, there is conflict. Because you go into the election, or the political parties go into an electoral process on the basis that we must win, and if we don't win, the elections have been rigged. In other words, we place so much premium on the presidency, and you'll see in many African countries, entry into government is like winning a lottery. It is winning a lottery because it gives you access to resources. And therefore people claim the president. If you are in a country, say, and one of your own means a son, they are normally sons. One of your own sons has won the presidency. The tribe celebrates, from the herdsman to the professor.
Share, like and comment. And follow me on YouTube, The Truth.